All right, great. Yeah. So we spoke to Monica Singer about what our view about blockchain as a tool for gender equality, because the IWD's theme for this year is digital, right? And innovation for innovation and technology for gender equality. And what we're trying to then see is from our own space, which is blockchain, which is an innovative space, like how can it be used to, is there anything it can do to help gender equality, especially in Africa, right? That is the entire story for us, right? And also we also want to like spotlight if possible like areas that the industry can also be better when it comes to like gender equality, because I know you personally and how you've been you've been in this since 2017 2018, right? And it's been a long journey, right? uh, it would be nice to kind of try to understand how your journey went, and if you felt like, also maybe felt like the fact that you're a woman played a part in some of the struggles that you probably experienced in the industry, right? And maybe what you would want to be better overall. But the general idea for us is that, okay, we'll take this, right? And so that we can make it a women affairs, right? And I'll probably interject from time to time with my questions that I may have. Does that make sense? All right, great. You're muted though. Don't forget to unmute yourself.
Yes, yes, yes.
All right.
Yes, okay. Once again, thank you for joining us, Ruth. It's a pleasure having you here. Just to go straight to the point, I learned that you are a trained pharmacist. I mean, you studied and trained in Ghana, and I mean, there's no like connection between pharmacy and blockchain, like in the basics, right? So I'd like to know, um, how did you end up in the blockchain space? What was the journey like for you? What's that thing that inspired you to get into tech and then become the founder of Bitmama, one of the biggest crypto exchanges in Nigeria or in Africa, to say the least? Yeah,
So,
thanks.
yeah. So first of all, I'll say pharmacists are known to be notoriously versatile. So, but apart from that, or apart from studying pharmacy, I think most of my like pastime or what I love doing the most was studying the stock market or studying more about finance, right? So for me, getting to know about blockchain was what helped me to enter the space a little bit better, because like if you compared like the crypto space to the traditional space, there was some kind of difference. And like you could basically do anything in the crypto space without a broker, while in the traditional finance space you couldn't do anything without a broker or an intermediary before you get what you want to get done, right? So for me that was like a no-brainer to learn more about what the blockchain is and what it entails, and like what is the future of this technology, like the same way everyone is kind of raving about AI right now, and like what's the future of AI, what will AI bring into our lives, right? So back then it was the same rave for me with the blockchain.
All right, but then I feel like what you just explained would maybe inspire anyone to like try to learn about the technology called blockchain. But for you, you became a founder. You
Yeah.
founded a company called Bitmama, and I don't think that's anything basic, right? I don't think anybody basic can do that, and I feel
Yeah.
like that required a lot more knowledge, in the space. So I would like to really know, like, what inspired you to build the company called Bitmama?
Okay, so Bitmama has gone through various phases, and like you said, yes, I really spent a lot of time reading and trying to find out more about the blockchain, right? I didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I wanted to start Bitmama. So but like I said, Bitmama has gone through various phases. at first when Bitmama started, for me it was like, okay, can we help reduce the scams when people are buying and selling cryptocurrencies? Because back then in the early days, many people didn't know what it was, so they were easily being scammed. So it was like, can we do like a knowledge session or something that can help people know more about um the blockchain or what they are doing with cryptocurrencies or with Bitcoin. But after a while, things started picking up, and then we moved to P2P. We realized that a couple of people now learned how to secure themselves. There were a lot of education around get being secure when you're trading. So we started out doing P2P. But however, at a point, which was the first thing that made me get into the technology in the first place, I had to ask myself, how can we use this technology every day in our lives, right? It's not about peer-to-peer transactions, or it's not about P2P transfers. How can we be able to use this technology in our everyday lives? And that was when we started focusing on the various use cases and how we can embed them into everyday living or everyday transacting. So that's what Bitmama then became today.
I think yes, we've had this conversation like multiple times about how you set out to one of the things that you wanted to do was to solve the problem of
Yeah.
around the scam thing, right? But what was the experience like? And I think I want us to like get into like the gender kind of conversation of this, right? Um, like, yeah, just because it was in the street, and I'll be honest with you, right? When I met you originally, and then I've seen how it. I mean, I didn't know on the inside, but I just could tell from the outside that it was kind of difficult getting Bitmama off the ground, right? Getting the right kind of support that you needed, right? And
Mhm.
all of that. And it felt around the same time that there were other crypto startups that were like getting funded that could pick up just guys that you kind of started around the same time, right? And just how much of this, what do you think, what would you pin that initial struggle to?
Yeah, I would say most of the initial struggles at first, if I should look back, I wouldn't say that was because maybe um I was a lady, right, in the space. And definitely the blockchain space is male dominated in a way. So it's easier for people to give access to those they are used to compared to those they are not used to. And this is me seeing things from a different perspective after like a period of time, right? And like you said, I also felt like, or I also feel like maybe I didn't have a kind of access that I would have required compared to others at that point in time. But I wouldn't also relate it to me being like a female, or say it was being like a gender bias kind of thing. I definitely know that there's some kind of bias when people are investing or saying who they want to do business with. But like I said, because most times it's a male dominated space, other guys are not used to working with females in the space, right? So with funding, I think right now we are now even doing better. We've been able to prove like our market concept over time, and now yeah, there is more clarity into what we are building, how we're getting things done. So now the conversation for me is not mostly about whether you are female or whether you're male, right? But definitely when some things are being said or some things are being done, definitely people are going to compare it you to like saying, oh, this is how a female runs this and this is how a male runs this. That comparison is always there. So, but like I said, looking back at things now, I feel like, okay, maybe I didn't have certain access I should have had, or I could have had at
Well,
correct.
so
The noise is coming from
as
your
Shimon had
side.
explained earlier about why we are doing this at Smart Block. The part of why we are doing this anyway is to
Yeah.
try to educate people, and separate facts from myths, right? So there are rumors that the blockchain space is too technical and a little difficult to understand, especially for women. And you're someone who has, will I say, broken the barrier. I think I watched an interview of yours where you mentioned that when you first got into the blockchain space, I think it was a Telegram group or WhatsApp group, you were like, I think there were just two ladies in the group, and we can all agree that even till date, though more women are getting into the space, the ratio is still not on. It's not even, right? There are still more men. We still call it a
Yeah.
male-dominated space, right? So, as a woman who is in the space, who is not just there, but is a founder, and doing amazing things with Bitmama, can you like try to provide us facts from your personal experience, right? Is it as easy? Is it as difficult,
Yeah.
rather? Is it as difficult as they say it is, or according to Monica Singh, I don't know if you know Monica Singer, but then she was like, no need for there's no need to
Yeah.
to tell people the difficult or the technical terms. Just explain it in simple terms, and then they would want to get involved in it. But then we must all agree that even maybe as a developer or as a founder, there are some things that you need to know, some very technical things. And I'd like for you to explain how difficult it is or how easy it is, as per your experience.
Just before you answer though, just before you answer, I don't think it's a rumor that the space is technical. I think it's actually a technical space, right? So yeah, yeah. So just please
Okay.
go
No,
ahead.
no, no.
I mean, that's just my own personal opinion on this.
Okay, yes, I agree the space is technical, right? But I think it's also a personal thing. Okay, let me just use for example, there are women going to space, right? Doing the mathematical computations for a spaceship self to take off is very, very hard compared to blockchain, but there are women doing that. But it's a personal thing. It's also a thing of you want to learn it. Maybe women have not necessarily seen how this would make them money or make them economically viable in a way because of the technicalities. So that's why many of them are not jumping into it. So it's a thing of do you want to read or do you want to know more? Because I think I started out really, really small from the little things. First of all, how do you relate the blockchain technology to traditional technology? So like when you're explaining or when you're learning, you layer both of them so that you see the advantages or disadvantages, or you're learning the pros and cons, or you're learning what can make this better and what's making this not to be better, right? It's just like what do they call it? This fractional banking. So if you go back and you read about what fractional banking is, then you understand the basis of what the blockchain is trying to solve, right? So it's just about making sure like you understand the concepts we already know, and then you're now layering it with the blockchain technology and saying, okay, this is what the technology is trying to solve. So, in the case of like buying stocks, like I mentioned earlier, you have a stockbroker as the middleman. In the case of blockchain technology, you could purchase your coins or whatever you want to buy, or your tokens, without a middleman or without a broker, which is where you come about the whole peer-to-peer um transfers or peer-to-peer technology without having a middleman in between. So all those things, because middlemen makes transactions more expensive at the end of the day. So that's why you then have I'm sure you guys will understand what I'm saying, but I hope whoever is going to listen will understand. So that's where you then start having your proof of work, proof of stake, because you don't want someone doing that computational statistics for you. Instead, you want a machine doing it, but you're just transferring between you and the receiver. Um, so I think in a way, well, how we're trying to also solve this, me myself personally, is I'm very bullish about ladies, and most times when we're employing, I try to make sure that okay, we have some ladies on the team, but not necessarily if you don't want to learn. So if you don't want to learn, I can't help you there. But if you want to learn and you want to do better, okay, maybe I can give you a chance and help you there, right? So even with our internship space that we just concluded, I was even telling the team that I'm surprised we have more ladies than guys coming out for the internship, and it was a surprising statistics. Though I was happy about it, but I was trying to do the whole gender equality thing. But at the end of the day, we had more women passing the tests and exams compared to guys, so we just had to take more women for the internship.
Yeah, that makes
Right.
sense. I think I also noticed that when I was going through your Twitter, I saw the lady and I was actually quite surprised. I counted more ladies than guys because that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you, and I'm like, oh, okay, they are doing something at Big Mama.
Exactly.
Anyway, it's actually quite good to know, though. But aside that, I mean, there are companies who are trying to, foster
Yeah.
gender equality. We see that, when they put out their ads, they are like, preferably a female because we are trying to, balance gender in our company, and all of that. But then, despite all of this, right, we still have gender equality issues prevalent in Africa. In different sectors, including finance, education, labor, health, even technology, because of course there are more, I think even in the rural areas, there are more men who own mobile phones than women, right? And maybe we can even link that to education. But then we would like to know, how do you think, or how have you seen blockchain technology foster gender equality, especially in Africa, where we know that Africa is literally is at the forefront of blockchain acceptance. The amazing concepts and innovations coming out every day. That is backed by the blockchain technology, and people are even saying, or we're actually seeing that blockchain can literally leapfrog the continent, to where some other developed countries or continents rather are. So my question is, what ways or how have you seen blockchain technology foster gender equality, especially in Africa?
Okay. So maybe in this sense, the only way I would say I see blockchain technology fostering gender equality, because most times they say women are generally poorer than men, or don't have money more than men, right? So with blockchain, where I see it fostering gender equality is in like maybe access, or like also making money for themselves, right? You can come in terms of like with artists, with NFTs. Women that are artists can sell their work as NFTs, earn more money, earn better pay, depending on how unique it is, right? I think there are other sectors, even in the sector where we currently play, in the payment space. Um, yeah, I guess those are the two that come to me top of mind right now. Maybe in the creator space, in the payment space, and women having that access to also have finances to be able to either fend for themselves or fend for their family, in a way reducing that gender pay gap, or that gender equality gap in terms of take home salaries or payments at the.
Right. So I would also like to know, yeah. So we know that blockchain has been doing this amazing, stuff in Africa. Trying to solve all these problems that we are encountering, right? But then we have most of these problems in Africa stemming from, societal norms, like you explained earlier. There, if someone or if a lady is not interested or she's not trying to educate herself, there's really very little we can do, right? Because at the end of the day, most of the power actually lies in your hand. But then we know that some of these issues are coming from, familial or societal or cultural socializations, some of these traditions that prevents ladies from educating themselves or from learning. Can you tell us some ways that society can be like part of this change that we're trying to
Exactly.
clamor for?
Yeah. So like even when you said the whole gender gap before, because I even wanted to mention that this whole gender gap or inequality thing, most times it's or 90% of the time stems from the homes, right? In this way, um ladies are trained to be like the caregiver or the caretaker or the groomers, while the guys are trained to be like the ones that fend for the family, right? So what happens at the end of the day is we bring down the morale or any sense of growth that the lady would have had ever, or even confidence in herself. So most times ladies are not sure of themselves because that's how they've been groomed from their homes, right? They are trained not to be sure of themselves or know what they are doing and always depend on someone else to activate that confidence in them. Now I'm not doing gender wars, please. So that someone will not come back and quote me. I'm not doing gender wars, but it's a thing that is happening, right? So I really really most times give kudos to my parents and the way they trained us, because in the house everyone is trained to be confident of themselves or what they are saying. So whether you're a lady or whether you're a guy, there is no rule for say, oh, washing plate is only for the women in the house. Everyone has their turn, everyone gets to do it. Or if you say you want to run an errand for your mom or your dad, it's not only the guys that run errands, right? Both ladies too. And that's why you see the guys tend to be literate more, because I see this pattern where they will be sent to do some kind of jobs, or they will go to the banks, they will go to this, they will go to that. So they learn that from an early age. But sometimes when you see the ladies, the first time they are having interaction with the banks is when they are in their teens or 18s or 20s, or sometimes for some of them is when they get married. So that's the first time they are actually going to the bank to try and perform a transaction. So it's something that is really really weird. And if people have access to these technologies very early on, if you see most people also growing up, they'll tell you, oh, we didn't have computers in our home. Well, yeah, so for us, we're a middle class family, but it's not like we didn't have computers, but like at least there was a PC and everybody had turns, so you take your turns in learning things. And from that early age, it was really, really vital to also migrate, like you said, that okay, so I also see the point where you said not everyone can learn blockchain so easily, but because after a while, yeah, this thing has already been imbibed in us growing up. So I already knew how to use the internet by my primary two. My dad already had laptops he brought to the house. I always use them, even though at first I play with them. So I already knew how to browse. I already knew how to do a couple of all those things while growing up.
That's very enlightening. Before I go ahead, though, I would like to ask if Sheol has anything, any question to ask.
All right, yeah. So I think I want to like drive the conversation a little differently, right? And maybe
Yeah,
because of you are in the unique position that you are a female founder, right? And I think it's still a thing that we don't have a lot of female representation um, in as business owners in the blockchain and digital asset space, right? And Just why do you think that is? And how do you think, what would you say to, okay, how do you think that can be improved in Africa, right? Because it's part of gender equality conversation that we have more women found companies, and you know uh, and I think it just tips the scale better in a kind of in a balanced way.
So I think it also still goes back to what we just said right now, right? That because of the way ladies are groomed in the home, so if you even see female founders, most times you mostly see them tilting towards health startups because they see themselves as the caregiver or care provider in the homes, right? Compared to saying they want to like build a payment startup or build a fintech startup, you would hardly see that happen. So it's still like, for me, I'm doing my little bit, but like I said, if you don't have the will to want to learn, or if you don't have the grit or tenacity to want to grow in this space, I can't help you whether you're a female or not. Like, I wouldn't start teaching you something you already have put behind your head or you already grew up with, right? It's just like when they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. That's already something you know, right? So for me, Seth, even when I'm in some gathering and it's women gathering, and everyone asks, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm working in the blockchain space." It's like weird, and like, oh, all of us here, we are either doing health startup or we're doing one thing or the other. But it's you're doing blockchain and fintech. So even me too, in the midst of my fellow ladies, I look weird to them, right? Like, you're doing something out of the norm that we normally would not have done. So I'm still trying my best to help or employ as many ladies that are ready to learn, because the more they work with me, they also learn about this technology. And hopefully, I'm hoping I will even see someone to tell me one day, "Hey, I saw this lacuna, or I saw this break where I can go and solve something else with your APIs, or I can go and do something else with these APIs and build my own startup." I'm waiting for that day to come, but like, I've not seen any lady also break out to tell me that.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. And just maybe just to like start rounding this off for me, uh, you have customers, right? And I'm just
Mhm.
curious, just what percentage of your users are female?
No, it's a very low percentage. I'm going to say about 35% are females, right? And also, but we have two products. So on the crypto side of the products, definitely we see over 70 to 80% male. But on the other products, which is Changera, there we see more females. But males still dominate, but we have more females on that side than the Bitmama product itself.
All right, great. And so it just still kind of comes back to the idea that even either as a founder or even using the product, we have a lot of we still have it's still dominated by female. Or so
Yeah.
so Monica Singer did tell us that the she thinks that the way forward, to like increase female participation, either as users or as builders in this space, is education, right? Education. How do you is that something you agree with? And if it's education, how do you think it's best to structure this kind of education? Right? Because we have a lot of things going on right now. Some people say they're doing NGO and stuff like that, giving out scholarship and all of that. But what do you think would be the most
Hmm.
efficient way to get more people involved in this female?
Yeah, so I think, yeah. So like she said, and I agree with her, education is the way to go. even those that say they are doing NGO and doing educating, it's fine, right? But for me, the best way I've also picked is like educating too, but like also working with me so that you can also build your knowledge base over time, because um not necessarily everybody is maybe up to my level with the whole blockchain team that are working with me, right? So maybe you have a little knowledge of the blockchain, but okay, no problem, it's fine. Can you learn, or are you willing to learn more or grow more as we are also growing? That's another thing I look out for. But on the time of educating, we try our best via our blog. But the truth is education in itself is very expensive, so unless you want to be like a full blockchain education platform and you are sure you're going to be receiving support or investment that is going to keep you running, then I think then you can go full-fledged education. But also as we go with our products, we try our best to put education here or there.
All right, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. And I hear what you said about education being expensive. And I think that is something that's part of why we are doing we are doing at Mariblock,
Yeah.
because we realize right now that a lot of the crypto industry have to like do education themselves, the company, and it's not the core of what you offer really, and
Yeah.
it kind of takes, yeah.
Thank
So
you.
so
Yeah.
so hopefully we can do more in that line to like educate people, and what I think for me the last question would be one final question would be, what would you say to somebody, a woman that is, or a female that is thinking of getting started in the space, either as to found a company in the space? What would be your advice to them?
Yeah, no, it's the same advice I give to everyone, right? A couple of things have already been built. Come and meet us for APIs. We're happy to give you. Look for the next feature or the next product you can build. Sometimes, and that's also, I think, is an African problem we have. We don't know how to leverage and build on top what other people have built. We are always looking to start from scratch, which doesn't make sense because it's still going to take you years and years to develop something. So if like we've developed an infrastructure for you, just come talk to us, take APIs. If you have an idea, then come talk to us. We're happy to help people.
All right, brilliant. Thank you. And what are some, should I say, pitfall that, are there any specific pitfall that you would say female founder should watch out for, or maybe it's just general for everyone?
Mm, I think this one will be controversial, but I would say female founders should try and know their stuff, their onions, right? You're running a company, you need to know a bit about everything happening. Unfortunately, you need to know a bit about the technical side, you need to know a bit about the finance, you need to know a bit about the product, right? I know it sometimes it's not easy to do, but like that's when you would be kind of versatile to be able to run a company properly at the end of the day. But there's this notion, and I guess this is where the bias comes from, that women don't necessarily know what they are doing when it comes to running companies, or when it comes to certain areas like finance or reading financial statements. So you need to be able to know all those things so that no one can tell you that, hey, look, you cannot do this. So once you're able to do that, then uh, I think the sky is the springboard. It's not the limit.
All right, great. Yeah, so it's been great having this conversation, right? And I think just having like that different voice, different from everything we've had, right? So yeah, but if we do have like any maybe follow up questions, we will just reach out to you. And thank you so much for doing this. Thank you for your time.
Sure.
Okay, and we wish
All
you
right. Thanks
all the
so
best
much.
with Bitmama this year and everything you want to achieve. Right. Yeah.
Yes, thank
All right.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And use our products too.
Okay. We'll have that in mind. Thank you.